Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Overeaters Anonymous £100 specific focus meeting. Today is Wednesday, the 21st of January 2026, and I'm absolutely delighted today to welcome Rocky. Rocky first came into the program in April of 2023. She is from New Hampshire. She's celebrating almost 3 years of recovery, so we are going to hand it over to her now to tell her story. Take it away, Rocky.
Hello, I am Rocky. I am a compulsive overeater. And let me start my own timer too, so I don't get carried away. I will break up my share into three bits. But before that, I just want to say thank you to all of the people that are giving service in this meeting. It makes my recovery possible because old me before program would have thought that it would have been better if I just did all the jobs and did it by myself, which is so not true. And thank you for all of the people whose faces I can see, and thank you for all of the ears that I have because I can't do program alone. And I never would have said that before program. So my resume. Why am I here? I am here, I think, because I am a little bit insane about food. And Rita said in the beginning, if you're hanging upside down or running around naked, please turn your cameras off. And I thought, what a wild thing to say. And then I thought, oh, yeah, I'm a wild person who does some insane things, particularly insane stuff with food. Before program, I I stopped weighing myself at about 315 pounds, about 143 kilograms, and I lost anywhere from 40 pounds to, which is about 18, I think 18 kilograms, all of the time. I was up 100, down 100, up 60, down 60, up 30, down 30. And I knew how to lose weight. I was really good at losing weight actually when I wanted to lose weight, but it was willpower based. So I would constantly be looking for the next book. Where is the book that will teach me to do this thing that everybody else is doing and losing weight? And I would obsess and I would spend time in the aisles and I would find a new diet and I would launch into it. And that diet would become my personality. But I was careful not to pick things that were really diets so that I didn't have to say I was dieting. It was like a fasting thing, or no, it's not really a diet. I just eat every other day. It's fine. It totally works for me. And people said, "Oh yeah, do the every other day diet. You can't not lose weight. You're only eating every other day." I, as a true compulsive overeater, can eat 4 or 5 days worth of calories in a day. And I think the pinnacle for me before I came into program was that I kind of found program in this journey. So I was 315 pounds and I decided that I was going to give up sugar and flour and I was going to weigh and measure everything that I did. And I lost the weight over the course of a year and a half. I lost all of the weight, but I would wake up in the morning thinking about food. I would get out of bed so that I could get my breakfast, and I would compulsively weigh this food and look at it and, break a little tiny piece of food in half to get it perfect. And I would obsess over that food and I would just think about lunch through the entire day. I was working, I had a really high stress job, and I don't have any friends from that job. I don't really remember a lot of that job. I know a lot of what I ate. I remember what my favorite cookbook was. I remember the diet book that I was using. I remember feeling so proud of myself when I could fast for 2 days or 3 days or 4 days and not tell anybody about it. That the people in my life wouldn't even notice because my food behaviors were so weird and so strange. And that for me was unsustainable. What would happen is I would be so good for a month, maybe 2 months if I was really lucky. And then one Saturday would come along where I would really want a food, and then I would go out and I would binge. And I would real binge. I would buy probably 3 or 4 servings worth of food for myself. And then at least one or two of those servings I would eat on the way home in secret. And I would put the wrappers in the glove box so that my partner wouldn't know about it. And then I would maybe even plan to give one to them and eat one myself. And then I would eat another one compulsively on the way towards opening the door. And then I would come in and say, look, I brought us this treat. Isn't it wonderful? We should probably share it. It's actually not just for you. And it felt like I couldn't help myself. It felt like there was nothing else that I could do because I had just run out of willpower. And then because I would have those days, I would fast again. I would go into the gym and I would watch 2 movies in a row, standing on the elliptical, trying to burn off a certain amount of calories because that's what I had to do. And I realize that I'm talking a lot about food and talking a lot about my weight. And that's because before program, I think that was pretty much what my life was. I was a functional addict, but I was still very much an addict. And for my for my university, actually, they said, "Hey, we want you to go to a 12-step meeting just to see what 12-step is like so that you can help other people." Oh, okay, I'll go to AA. That's the 12-step meeting that I know. So I met up with a friend who I knew was in AA, and we went to a meeting together. And I thought that I was just kind of going to listen because that wasn't my program. It wasn't something that I had an issue with. And I remember sitting in that room going, everything that they're talking about, if I take out the word alcohol and replace it with food, it's me. You're stashing it under your pillow at night so your friends and family won't notice. You think nobody can tell that there's something wrong with you. And for them, it was intoxication. And for me, it was looking down, going, how could you not know that I have a problem with food when I'm the biggest person in the room? When I'm the biggest person in the room, everywhere I go. And I am well over 6 feet. So I am already a very large woman and a very large presence. And I couldn't buy clothing. It was always too small. And I thought that the way that I could measure how I lost weight was if I bought smaller clothing, right? This is the insanity. If I can squeeze into a medium, that means that I'm a medium. Did I look a little bit like a sausage? Maybe. Yes. Did I also probably want one? Yes, maybe. Right. But that was the insanity of program. And that AA meeting that I went to changed my life and I had no idea. So I think that's my resume. And there is so much more. A friend reminded me today, she was like, in your disease, you were so craving of food that like even when you were making food with raw chicken in it, you would lick your fingers when you were done because I just couldn't keep my hands out of my mouth. I couldn't keep myself satisfied. Everything I ate all the time, everything. I ate out of the garbage. I would eat other people's food. I would, oh, it's ravenous. And then what happened? What happened is that I came to program and they said, work the steps and find a sponsor. And you'll stay here and it'll be wonderful. And, you'll have 30 years in program. And I thought, I don't want to be here in 30 years. I want to like do the thing and get done with it and have the perfect body and leave. You poor people who are like still here 3 years later. And now I hope and pray with every fiber of my being that in 30 years I am here. So I found a sponsor. I found a woman who talked about her recovery, which was fine. But really, what I saw is I looked at a woman and I was like, wow, she's beautiful. She's not the biggest person in the room. And she's also lost 100 pounds. That's what I want to be. I want to be the pretty, thin lady who is sitting in here that everybody is going, oh, yeah, I want to be that. Um, and I happened to get really lucky that she was so much more than that. Um, so we started working the steps. She started me in the first 12 days. And if you are new to program, if this is your first meeting, this is your first week in program, welcome. We are so happy to see you. Please keep coming back. Please take my number and ask me all the questions that seem silly and weird. Please take other people's numbers who inspire you. And my sponsor asked me in the first 12 days, one of the most incredible questions that I've ever been asked. She said on the first day, what does compulsive eating mean to you? And I wrote it down. I still have my list. I said compulsive eating for me, meaning behaviors that I do and behaviors that I've seen, is eating for an emotion instead of for nutrition. It is not being able to leave behind any bites on my plate. It's obsessing over food that's in my line of sight. If I can see it, it has to go into my mouth. It's eating until I'm physically sick, leaving events or conversations early so that I can get back to the food or get more food. It's weaponizing food, meaning bargaining with tomorrow. It's fine if I eat 3 slices today because I'll eat nothing tomorrow. And then I'm starving and I can't keep that promise to myself. It was eating in secret. It was eating fast out of fear, being defensive about my food, and eating straight from a serving plate. And I think this was the beginning of my journey with honesty. I would have never told you that I was a dishonest person. I think because I didn't know that I wasn't being honest with myself. And the second thing that she asked me came from many symptoms, one solution in the newcomers packet. And she said, talk about your symptoms. And so I wrote out 2 pages of my history with eating. An entire page just involves binge eating. And it wasn't recounting what binge eating looked like to me. It was recounting all the ways that I saw binge eating in my family and had never really cataloged it. It was talking about the way that I used food. It was talking about grazing. It was talking about chewing and spitting out food. It was this constant preoccupation with food, and it was using food for reward and comfort and feeling like I was in control because I was eating. I didn't have any real power, but I felt powerful if I ate, and I felt productive if I ate. If I'm sitting on the couch relaxing while I'm useless, but if I'm up in the kitchen and making a snack for myself, I'm a human being who's trying to sustain life. And that was dishonest thinking for me. That really didn't work. And so my sponsor and I started talking about what abstinence meant. And she said, a lot of people in program do no flour and do no sugar, and they do weighing and measuring. And I kind of smiled and I said, yeah, that's what I've been doing. And I am so obsessed with food. And I had lost 100 pounds doing that, but I then also gained it back slowly through these secret binges. It's like, I know that I get really obsessed and really fixated with perfectionism, which for me was in the steps. And so what I had to do is I had to figure out what abstinence meant for me. And I'm gonna pull up my abstinence and read it to you folks. And I'll also post it in the chat. But my abstinence came from getting really honest with myself about what it is that I do and what my issues are. And so I call these my pillars of abstinence. And I keep my pillars of abstinence up in my kitchen. I keep a little tiny laminated pillar of abstinence in my pocket. I bring it to parties with me. I will stuff it in my sock. I will put it somewhere where it's a little bit itchy, like an annoying tag, and I can remember that it's there, which is really helpful to me. And so my first pillar is that I ate only because I was hungry, not for control, productivity, preparation, relief, or obligation. And I specifically added all of those words because I can talk myself out of what it means to be hungry, right? There's a Japanese word that means hunger, but it actually means the mouth is lonely. It's not about our stomach, it's about this craving for something else. And I had no idea how to satiate that craving before. My second pillar is that I stop at enough. This was a practice for me. I was convinced thoroughly that I was one of these people who had that disease or that issue where you can't tell if you're full because I was always hungry. But it turned out it was kind of more like, and this is also me, one of those people who, when you cook food, you always set off the fire alarm. And so you kind of do the irresponsible thing of like taking the batteries out of the fire alarm or taking them off the wall. And I think this is what my body did, is my body said, you're ignoring these alarm bells that say you're full all of the time. So like, screw it. I'm not going to waste energy on trying to tell you that you're full because you're not listening. And so what I had to do to figure out what enough meant is I would sit down, I would take one bite, and then I would sit back and I would wait. And it felt so stupid, but I was kind of doing this body check of like, am I hungry now? Is this what hunger feels like? My eye just twitched. Does that mean that I'm full? I don't know, right? So I'd take another bite and I would go, okay, I'm not feeling anything yet. And I would take another bite and I would take, and then eventually I would get to a bite and I would go, oh, something feels different. I think this is what fullness looks like to me. And I recognized that I had patterns. I would sigh. I would sit back a little bit. For the first time during a meal, I would set down my fork. And before that just kind of meant a little intermission. But now those were cues to me this whole time that I actually did know what enough was, but I had to train my body. And it was a very weird experience. And this also wasn't perfect. This meant sometimes I would take another bite and I would go, oh, that bite was too much. Now I'm full. And so I had to really experiment not only with being honest with myself, but with letting go of perfectionism, that I wasn't going to get it perfectly, but every time I was going to try. My next pillar is that I have not binged. I recognize that this looks different for everyone else or for different people, but my binging looks like eating multiple servings, not just because I'm hungry, but like inappropriately, exorbitantly large portions. And this looks like eating back to back to back. I'm going to have a little bit of this, and then 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 a little bit of this. And before I know it, I've been eating from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. the whole time. And that's an easy behavior for me to identify. I have not eaten in secret, which is different than eating in private. It is okay for me to sit alone in my office and eat a meal. It is not okay for me to cover my plate with a napkin and kind of sneak in whatever the food is that I'm eating, or eat something and go, well, I just won't tell my partner. Or, you know what, I'll buy another one and they'll never know. Um, so I do not eat in secret. I do not snack on ingredients. I could eat an entire meal in tasting bites. Oh, let me just have a little, let me just have a little piece of this. Let me just have a little, oh, that looks, I need to sample it, make sure it's good for them. It's only a quarter of the way done. I don't even have all of the ingredients in there. What am I sampling for? I don't know. I have no idea. But my body says, you have to do this. This is where comfort, this is where happiness, this is where whatever comes from. And so now I do not snack on ingredients. If I have to taste something and it is a true taste, I will take the back of the spoon and I will lick something off of it. But that looks very different for me. And that is still a big temptation and why I have my pillars taped in my kitchen so that I can look at abstinence and go, this is so dumb, and then do it anyway because it's really good for me, which is the part that I'm going to talk about next. Why? Why bother doing all of this hard stuff? Pillar number 6 is I did not fill the time between meals. This for me is heavy fantasizing. It is easy for me to lay in bed in the morning for an hour and just think about what I'm going to eat for breakfast. This is not a productive or happy use of my time. Scrolling the internet and just watching food videos, not a good or healthy use of my time. And also looking at the clock and going, I have 3 hours until I'm allowed to eat. What can I do to make that time go quickly? This is not a healthy thought pattern for me. And so these that I'm reading are really came from the idea of what does compulsive eating mean to me? And how do I get really honest with myself about what that is? Because for me, I don't have a problem with ingredients. I have a problem with my behaviors around ingredients. I can binge on a vegetable. I can't, my sponsor and I would joke that we have this in common that she once ate herself orange because she had so many carrots. Relatable, understandable. That is very much in my wheelhouse. It does not matter what it is. My 7th pillar is that I have not bartered with a day that is not today or in a way that leaves me hungry later today. I am not allowed to say I will have more now and I will have less later. I can say things like, gosh, if I choose to eat something that is sweeter earlier in the day, it means that I won't eat something sweeter later in the day, but it doesn't mean I'm going to eat more now and then skip dinner. Skipping meals is not generally an issue for me because I have the ability to check in and see, am I hungry? Am I full? But I have to be careful about why I'm doing it. Am I skipping a meal because I go, wow, lunch was really great and really healthy and satiating, and I haven't really moved my body enough to need more, so I'm not hungry? Or am I skipping a meal because I go, if I skipped a meal, then maybe tomorrow I could. Dangerous territory for me. The 8th one is I have not treated my body as a trash can. I did not save or eat unsatisfying or rotten foods. I did not finish plate bites to reduce waste, and I did not eat over the garbage can, and I did not eat off of other people's plates. Um, I like the idea of thinking about waste, WASTE, and waste, WAIST, thinking about if something belongs in the waste bin and I eat it, it's just going to a different waste, but it's waste all the same. And my human vessel carrying more food so that I do not waste is not helpful. It means that I need bigger clothes, which is wasteful. It means I no longer fit in my car because I can't squeeze the seatbelt around me, and so I need a bigger vehicle. It means that I am harder to get around, so it takes more gasoline. This sort of logic helps remind me that putting food in my body that belongs in the waste bin is not for me. So these are my pillars. And when I came up with them early in program, I said to my sponsor, okay, these are my pillars. This is what I want to do. And she said, okay, let's start today. And I said, oh, no, no, I need to, Monday, right? Or the first. Let's wait then. Um, and she said, okay, what are you willing to do? And I said, I'm willing to do one a day. I am willing to start with one of them. And then on the second day, I can add on the second one. And on the third day, I can add on the third one because I was resistant and I was unwilling. And by some miracle outside of myself, on the very first day, I was able to do all of these. And then I did it again. And then I did it again. And I did it again. And it slowly started to become this strange habit that I was forming. And I joined program 9 days before my birthday, which before program I never would have done. I needed to have all of the goodies on my birthday, and maybe I'll start the day after, but there'll be leftovers. So I'll start on Monday, but it's close to the end of the month. So I'll start at the first of the month, right? And I just push it out. But I did. And the way that I kept my abstinence, and this is where I get to the stuff where it's really good, is that I started working the steps. I started getting really honest with myself about my relationships, about my need for control, about trying to get a false sense of control from the food because I felt that I needed to control and manage everything. And this for me comes from my youth. As a youth, this was kind of my responsibility as a kid. And I don't blame my parents, probably because I did the steps. I don't blame my parents. I just recognize that this has given me strengths and this has given me some hardships that I have to get through. And I started looking at what people call defects of character, and I started just recognizing that these are part of my character. I didn't have to eat about it. I didn't have to control it. I didn't have to fix it. And when I started working the steps and when I started being honest, I somehow got all of this weird free time. I told my sponsor, I'm kind of like too busy to work the steps. It's probably going to be pretty slow. And then I started working program and I started doing all of these things, and magically time appeared. I was able to go to a meeting every day. I was able to work the steps. I was able to talk to fellows every day. I was able to use all of these tools. And I realized that my eating was a full-time job. And thinking that I needed to be responsible for everyone and everything was a full-time job. And one of the things that radically transformed my program was giving service. If I am giving service, it means that I am serving other people, but it also means that I'm recognizing I can't do this alone. I don't have to do this alone. And the people in programs see my foibles. They see me show up late. They see me try and share the screen and I mess it up. They see me try and give a lead share and forget what I'm saying right in the middle of my share, or ramble too much, or right, whatever it is. And then these people go, that's fine. Me too. I accept you. Please keep coming back. And I think program is one of the first places that I really recognized unconditional love. I found this group of people who just accept me. Step 5, I shared every gross detail about myself with my sponsor. And at the end, she just kind of nodded and said, okay. And I thought, wow, you're not running from me. This isn't awful. I've confronted a lot of stuff and I'm not like melting or catching on fire. And that was incredible for me. It taught me how to do relationships. It taught me that I can be honest with other people and ask other people for help, and they're willing to. It means that I can make mistakes, and that's okay for me. And now, oh, by the grace of higher power and my program and my fellows and my sponsor and every single tool, I'm coming up on one day at a time of 3 years of back-to-back abstinence, weight loss of 120 pounds, so 60 kilograms. My weight fluctuates a little bit and my days aren't perfect, but there is no longer this huge pendulum swing that there used to be. I'm wearing the same clothes 2 years in a row. I don't know about anybody else, but that's miraculous. I used to have in my basement stacks and stacks of clothes that were like, this is my 3X pile. This is my 2X pile. This is my extra large pile. This is when I'm still extra large, but I think that I can fit into a large. And then, of course, my giant stack of clothing that I had never been able to fit into or fit into for like 4 minutes, and then it didn't fit anymore. And now I'm having the same clothes. I'm wearing out pants. It's just incredible. It saves me money, it saves me time, it saves me energy, and I am thoroughly convinced that I would not have, well, thank you. Oh, feels celebratory. That I would not have the relationship that I have with my partner or with the other people in my life. And I feel like that song that just played for the timer is pretty right, because program is an epic saga that needs some sort of dramatic soundtrack, because it is radically transformative and continues to change as I do program. So thank you for being here, for showing up for your own recovery, because that means that you're all better people walking in the world. And I want to be a part of better people walking around. And I pass. Thank you.
Oh, Rocky, that was amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm just reminded on page 45 of the big book, it says we could wish to be moral, we could wish to be a philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will all these things with all our might, but the needed power wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves, obviously. But where do and how do we find the power? Well, that's exactly what this book is about. Its main object is to enable you to find a power greater than yourself, which will solve your problem.